turn into with humans taking advantage of these systems? But what's different from this picture is we think that we are destroying the Earth. But the Earth's going to live on, and it's us that are going to perish. Unless we make a radical change. If the Earth formed at midnight and the next present moment is the next midnight, so 24 hours, we humans were here for a second, 1 second out of a day. And in that second, we've really fucked stuff up a lot. And it's caused by the thought that we are separate from the whole vast interconnected planet, universe. And the thought that we are separate from everyone else and everything else causes separation, causes this fear that I fight or flight, I need to fight anything else. Which causes systems of power dynamics, which cause hierarchies, and causes some people to benefit while other people suffer. And with over 8 billion people thinking this, it's crazy. It's crazy. And it manifests into pollution, destruction of our Earth, wars, genocide, slavery, and isolation and separation from the food that we eat. And so we're making these chemicals and these synthetic foods when we're in abundance. And we have food systems that are run on modern day slavery. And the percentages of the food that we eat and the workers growing these foods, 40% are undocumented immigrants. And most of the food we eat are grown by people of color, which through this system are not respected. And 80% of the farm working women are sexually harassed on their job. And we have something called food deserts, because we grow enough food. We grow enough food to feed everyone, but 40% gets wasted. And 25 to 30 million people live in food deserts, which means urban or rural communities that lack adequate access to fresh, healthy, affordable food. It's all about access. And so we want to change these food deserts into food paradises and stop throwing away food but sharing it and allowing access to all humans. So there's a study in the 60s about drug addiction. And they put all these rats in separate cages, and they give them a choice between food and water or drugs, morphine. And they picked drugs until a point where they killed themselves without food or water. And this other scientist came along and he said, if I was a rat in a cage, I would pick drugs too. You know? Like, you know? And so he redid the study, but he introduced this rat park, where they had a community, a sense of belonging. And the rats picked food and water. And he even got the rats addicted to the drugs first, then introduced this rat park, and they fought off their addiction. And they picked food and water. And this is happening in our society where it's not physical cages, which, I mean, there are physical cages, but mental, spiritual, emotional cages that are set up by the systems in place. All life is interconnected. How we choose to spend the few years we're allotted on Earth, from the interactions we have with each other to the ways we choose to heal or steal the planet, is a serious decision with measurable consequences. Our actions as individuals determine not just how our day will unfold, but how future generations will be able to live. And it's up to us. And even though we're all interconnected, and on a level we are all one, it's not like that on this physical realm. And we're striving for equality, but we must work with equity, which is fairness. And it's all about access, again, access. And For some people, they have less access than others. And so what it might look like is giving more people more things to create equality. Because if we give everyone the same thing, that is not same. That is not equal. So what are solutions? I'm giving a lot of problems, you know. What are solutions and why are we here? Why are we in this room? Because I know a lot of people here have felt it. There's a lot of problems going on. What do? We gotta come to this room and we gotta find solutions. Mimicking nature. This force that's been around since ever, we are part of it. Mimicking that. Coming together in community. Creating access for all people and empowering the people. And these are some examples. Grow food locally, more full-scale grocery stores, transportation, education, and working with Gaia, Mother, Earth, Spirit. So biomimicry, mimicking nature. You can look at nature as being like a catalog of products, all which has benefited from a 3.8 billion year research and development period. So it's awesome. You know, we've had a lot of time, and it's you know, trial and error, and this is what it's come up with. And there's so many patterns that keep repeating over and over. Spirals. There's kind of these hexagon kind of shapes. There's these waves. There's these kind of egg-like patterns. There's branching. which you see in brain cells, in the iris, in nebulas, in mycelium, in neural pathways in the brain, and we're starting to mimic this. And you know, we got Velcro from birds, we got LED lights from lightning bugs, we got, you know, from our syringe tip mosquito, you know, we got the treads of the tire from Geico, we got, you know, Leonardo da Vinci making the plane from bats and birds. And the list goes on. And we see it out here in the permaculture garden, you know? And we're starting to mimic and go back. And this isn't a new thing. People have been doing it for millions of years. And so narrow it down. What's a good place? What's a good place to look on Earth where nature is abundant and working overtime, which is a good test study? Amazon rainforest. Most biodiverse place on Earth. Half the world's species working in the smallest area. The most biodiverse place. All these systems working together and doing it really, really well. And cycling. It's all about cycling. Different canopies, different layers of this system. And there's so many cycles. The food cycle, the food chain, with producers, with consumers, with decomposers, with the water cycle, the nutrient cycle, carbon cycle, nitrogen. The degree to which nutrients can readily move through an ecological system is the measure how quickly that environment will be able to grow and respond to change. Through the actions of living organisms and the living earth, various interconnected geochemical cycles endlessly move carbon, nitrogen, sulfur, phosphorus, and other essential elements through the world's habitat. So permaculture, a system in which all organisms are working together to create abundance for all. Mimicking these cycles, mimicking these different layers and different interactions. And these are some permaculture principles which care for the earth, care for people, fair share, catch and store energy, and so on. And different zones in which to allow access, especially for us humans. And a lot of these concepts and ideas, and even the word permaculture, was coined by Bill Mollison and these white males. But it's a concept that has been around since ever by indigenous peoples and people of color. And so we must give respect to these people who gave the torch and shine away from you know, these white, like, oh, permaculture, this new idea. It's not a new idea. And even before human beings, this earth has been doing it. This permanent agriculture. It's here. And so we must go back home. In conclusion, we must create and integrate into an infinite, integrated, interconnected, biodiverse system that incorporates all these principles to solve these problems on Earth. Connect and mimic nature. Become one with nature. We are one of the only species that can look at what we did wrong and be like, oh, I want to change. You know? We're the only species that can consciously choose to change. That's awesome. That is awesome. So let's do it. Let's look at the 3.8 billion years of trial and error, see what worked, see what didn't work, and change, and get with it. So, biomimetic, closed-loop, permaculture, business scale systems. Whatever you want to call it, a bunch of words. So this is a system that I want to propose, and this is a group, and this is one solution on the physical realm that we can do now. And this is a system incorporating vermicompost, aquaponics, insects, mushrooms, algae, food scraps, agricultural waste, microgreens, etc. And it goes on. And it can be all powered by a biodigester reactor. Well, let's talk about fungi. I love fungi. So fungi, mushrooms, can be, if you look at nature, a tree falls in the forest and is the recycling. It decomposes it. And it uses waste, death, decay as food. And it breaks it down. And it's awesome. It's beautiful teacher. And so, if anyone drinks a lot of coffee, those spent coffee grounds can be used as food. Already spent mushroom blocks can recycle again. Agricultural waste like crushed corn cobs, rice straw, rice hulls, soybean hulls, a bunch of poop from all these animals, spent barley grains, etc. Cocoa core, peat moss, not really sustainable, straw, logs, wood chips, sawdust, paper scraps, cardboard, oil, plastic, cigarette butts.
What's cocoa core?
Coconut fiber. So, leading off that, if you grow microgreens off cocoa core, if you drink coffee and you like to, buy a lot of things online, packages come to your house, you have cardboard boxes. You can combine those things and grow mushrooms. And what is thought of as a waste is now turned into production. And you can grow shiitake, and then harvest it, take that block and grow oyster, harvest it, and then take that, and then grow garden caps in your garden, and then take those caps which have inoculated with larvae, then throw it in a system which has fish, and those fish will eat the larvae, and then they will poop and pee and feed plants, and you can even, you can feed the spent mushroom blocks directly to the fish. You can go on and on and on, and there's so many interactions. You can fill these 5-gallon buckets filled with agricultural waste and stack them to the ceiling just like a tree. And they sprout off the sides. And this is a system that I had in my basement, working along with plants to cycle the oxygen and CO2. And talking about cycling oxygen and CO2, we can add spirulina, which is a blue-green algae, in a tank, growing mushrooms to cycle the oxygen and CO2. And this is a algae photobioreactor, which is used to create electricity. And we can grow this blue-green algae to create fuels. And it's super nutrient-dense food. This is my friend from Pennsylvania, William Padwilla Brown, shout-outs to him, growing Ganoderma lucidum reishi, a beautiful medicinal mushroom alongside spirulina, and they cycle the oxygen and CO2. This is something that's being done, and it's something really accessible that people can do. And when we harvest those mushrooms, we can take those blocks and put them with worms and create this nutrient-dense worm castings, which Brendan talked about. And we can take those worms, we can take the worm castings and put it back into and grow more mushrooms. We can grow plants indoors, outdoors. We can take those worms and feed them to fish, which poop and pee in an aquaponics system. And their poop and pee is converted through the help with bacteria to feed plants. And so this in itself, aquaponics, is a closed loop system. But aquaponics has been around, again, for thousands of years by indigenous people. Shout outs to them. And so we need to go back and mimic these closed loop systems and see how nature does it. And because it's the best. And see how one system's waste goes into the next and goes into the next and goes into the next. Here's one example of something that I built last year, and I'm striving away from it because it's PVC pipe, and it's not like, I want to go away from that. But it's cool because it's vertical, and this is something mimicking the canopy system, and it's something that can be grown 365 days a year, and fish can be put into it, and we can use waste from other systems and feed the fish, which feed the plants, and harvest and get fresh local food 365 days a year, even if it's 5 feet of snow outside. And we can recycle bottles and use worm castings and create vertical walls. But people in cities would have huge vertical spaces and lots of window space. We can recycle these bottles and grow plants and teach kids and host workshops and have reuse what is going to be thrown away or recycled, again, to produce more of this. And these are some sketches that people had of huge, skyscrapers in these inner cities just pumping out vertical food for people to have access to. Or this is, on the more urban setting, this is like a homestead where they're combining permaculture systems and equal access and all these systems working together. So envisioning the future, I envision vertical indoor permaculture-based ecosystem farms based in cities to pump out local food from a hub and create this access. Portable modular ecosystem from shipping containers and low to zero budget local sustainable indoor and outdoor based permaculture, community gardens, food forests, like what we're doing, all these systems and create that rat park where we can come together as community and grow food and have access to this, and rather than being subjected to the drugs, which can be anything. And so thank you for allowing this space for education and community and coming together for ideas and sharing this knowledge. And this is what we're striving for. And there's this concept of business skill, which I really like, and it's something that, this world is run off money, which is debt. The federal bank notes is debt because it's a loan from the federal government. To where the second you hold on to money, you have to pay it back with interest, and you're stuck in the system. And what we use money for is for the things that we need, which is in abundance: food, water, shelter, family, community, which is all here. And so we can set up these systems to where the waste product of one business goes into the next. So we have a coffee shop, and they're like, oh, I have a bunch of coffee grounds. We can go into this business. So we have a mushroom grower. We can use that, and then the waste mushroom blocks go into a farmer. And then it just keeps going, and these systems work together, and we can create kind of eco-villages to where people have specific interests and specific, blacksmith. We have mathematicians, and we have all these people working together, and there's no waste. And the input from these businesses to where, oh, I need money to buy things to power my business, we don't need that anymore because it's waste from another business. And so we're separating from that system of monetary enslavement, and we're going to empowerment, and we're going to community, and we're going to working together, and we're growing all the things that we need. And we're not integrated into a system where we are putting ourselves in a system to where we need to work endless hours at a job that we don't like, to buy mostly things that we don't need when we can just produce the things we need. And work together with people also producing the things that we need and barter those things. And go away from the monetary, federal banknotes, these greenbacks. And we're doing it right here, right now. And it's awesome. And it's so cool, and it's so empowering to be here with educating people, and we need more people inspired and learning and growing their own things and collaborating and bartering, whether it be knowledge or physical things. And let's keep it up. And that being said, I love each and every one of you. This is awesome.